The world doesn't just need people like you, it's built by people like you. What types of people am I talking about? Deep thinkers, unconventional individuals, and those that have the courage to unapologetically be themselves. Today's video, I'm going to talk about the unique value that you bring to the world in ways you may not even realize, as well as why the world needs people like you. So I want to start off by talking about a concept that I heard recently. I've heard this before, but I heard it put in a very simple way that's easy to understand recently when I listened to a podcast from the Diary of the CEO when he had Alex Hormozi on there as a guest. And in there, he explained the concept as such, where there's mostly, if you think about this, people kind of fall into two camps. There's those that fall into the camp of being a parrot, and there's those that fall into the camp of being a practitioner. Now I'll explain each one of these a little bit more. If you're in the camp of a parrot, this is kind of like the majority of society, the majority of people that you think of, in which they hear a piece of information, they hear a concept, an idea, or anything else along the lines of things like that. And what happens is they take that idea and they run with it as their own. They use this in conversations, debates, arguments, whatever, you name it. But they essentially take this and they parrot it. They repeat it in its exact same form to other people. However, the issue is the moment someone challenges this or they ask a question saying, what if blank is different? What if this is the situation? All of a sudden, the person that's parroting this doesn't have an answer for it. And it's because when you do this and you take an idea and you just regurgitate it and put it back, it's not really your idea. So in terms of defending it, explaining it more, or going, further than just really repeating the concept in and of itself, you get stuck. And the conversation essentially ends and it doesn't really progress further in a good direction or one that's productive. Now, on the other side, when you think about the practitioner, these are the individuals that instead of just hearing an idea or hearing a concept or a thought and repeating it, they will hear something and go investigate it. They will learn more about it. Or, in some other kind of cases too, what they'll do with this concept is they'll figure it out themselves. They'll have the idea themselves and they will try to learn more about it, dive into these questions, ask the questions that other people would ask you so that when you're kind of put into a corner or you're asked about this, you can easily explain it. You understand what the idea really means. Now, kind of like I mentioned before, a lot of people fall into this parrot camp. We live in an age of social media where it's easy to jump on Instagram, the TikTok, or Twitter, or wherever, you name it. Read something that's a sentence long, listen to a soundbite that's 30 seconds long, or a very complex, nuanced idea or topic, and then just essentially take that and just start telling other people that. And kind of like I said before, as soon as you're questioned about it or you're asked for, what about in this specific scenario, it's hard to really keep the conversation going because you're parroting something that you heard. You're not talking about something that you fully understand or have taken the time to do so. So when you watch a video like this, I'm kind of speaking to the people that more fall into this practitioner camp, really the people that either formulate the ideas initially or someone that hears the idea and has enough thought to kind of, want to deep dive into it, want to figure out all the nuances and the complexities of that idea and really understand it to make it something that's more resemblant of their own. So when we think about this, deep thinkers, unconventional individuals, and people that have the courage to be themselves, like I mentioned in the beginning, we're typically people that fall into this practitioner camp. Right? We're not satisfied just hearing something and repeating it. We really just need to use that as a jumping off point to find more information out, to really dive into what these concepts or ideas and things are too. The more you know about something, the easier it is to have these conversations, the easier it is to see the other side of an argument or a thought and really be able to engage with that and see it from a genuine lens, right? That's the way I like to look at that. Another way to kind of think about this is, when you have the thought to dive into something and really kind of seek that information out, I always like to use this analogy of kind of, people that pave the way. Think about walking into a forest or something, right? Like you're walking there and a lot of people have been here before, but you look to the left and there's a path, right? It's all the brush is taken down. You can clearly see that people have walked back and forth throughout here. You can even look at the beginning of this path and see almost the end of it because it's so clear and so many people have went this way that there's not really any surprises. You can see almost at the end just from where you stand. But the people that kind of fall into this camp of, deep thinking, unconventional individuals, the ones that wouldn't be themselves, they look to the right and they say, you know what? I don't see a path here necessarily, but I can see a little bit in between the brush. And there's something there, I think, or I'm curious about finding out what's there. Like maybe you see a little bit of light, maybe you see something else that's interesting that catches your eye and you say, okay, like there's not a very clear way to get here. There's obviously not a path that's broken here. I don't really know if more than a few individuals have went there before, if anyone at all. And I'm gonna have to do some work to get through there. But I'm intrigued by what may lie behind there as some type of mystery. So instead of taking the path that most people are taking, which is simple, which you can already kind of get an idea about what's at the end from, even in the beginning, you say, okay, I'm going to start tearing down some of this brush. I'm going to take my time. It's going to be slower. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to find, but I'm curious enough to know what's over there. So you start moving the brush back, you move forward, and it takes you twice as long. But after a while, you start to clear and clear and you go. And you never know what you may find. You may find that there was a shortcut to getting towards where everybody else ended up eventually. You might find some type of hidden treasure, something over there. You may find some new type of beauty that no one knew even existed because most people chose to take the path that everyone else is doing. They see what everybody else is doing, they follow it, rather than saying, let me think about this and think what's over there and just check it out. The world needs people like you because so many individuals are just looking for the easiest way to go throughout life, the most comfortable way to go throughout life, ways that don't challenge the status quo, ways that don't essentially make things more difficult. And I get it, right? I mean, life is already hard as is. Why would you want to add and make that more difficult for yourself? However, with that being said, there's always people that don't mind the challenge, that want to see, what does the unconventional road take me to? And so when you have the courage to kind of be yourself and understand that maybe you are one of these people that says, I just want to see what the different path shows me. I want to see what's behind, and I'm not satisfied with just doing what everybody else wants. This is the exact type of people that the world needs. When you go throughout, tougher circumstances like this, whether it's a literal path or challenging the ideas that people tell you, or just trying to do something different than what most people do, this is where growth and innovation and forward progress and things in our society happens. It's tough, but if you look back throughout history, it backs us up. A lot of individuals that have reached a certain level of prominence or achievement in their life had the courage to do something that was different than the group. And it's not to say that you should sit here and just do things that are different than everybody just because you want to be different. There's a difference, right? When you think about that, it's you're not trying to just be different for the sake of being different. But if you are a different person in terms of how you think and move and what you want in life, that can bring growth, innovation, new ideas. And what you find is, just as I was talking about the path, right, where you can cut down this path and you start to find these shortcuts, these ideas and things that move the conversation forward. Just like the first path was made, there was a person that went through that first. The problem is, it's like everybody else has went through after, so people don't think about it like that, but someone had to be first. And so when you think about things that interest you in life and ways and directions that you'd like to go, someone has to be first. And you don't always have to be first every single time. Maybe there's a couple of people that went before you, but the more people that choose to go the unconventional route, that choose to do something that's different than everyone else does, the more paths you open up. And not only the more paths you open up, the more that you pave the way for people that are looking for a different direction in and of themselves. Not everybody's going to be a person that just wants to do something different in life. Not everybody's going to have the courage to step outside and do something that's difficult, that's different than their peers around them. The reason the world needs people like you is because someone has to have the courage to walk throughout and create this path for other people to follow to. And the more of us that have the courage to do these things, the more roads we open up for other people around us in our communities, our families, our friends. And the more choices you have in life, the more beauty you start to see that's behind the veil because you had the courage to do that. So the real reason the world needs more people like you is because it gives us more choice, more hope, and more ways to look at everything as a whole. We're all in this together. You may not love, your neighbor and people next to you all the time, but the world needs people like you because the world needs more courage, more creativity, more unconventional wisdom, and more people that really have no problem unapologetically being themselves. So the next time you're faced with a tough choice, or you're not sure if you want to go against people to kind of try something different in and of yourself, I encourage you to do that. So you never know what that may open up for not only yourself, all the people around you that need some help too. And trust me, the world needs more people like you. I hope this helped. Appreciate you taking the time to go ahead and watch this. And if it did help you in any type of way, please go ahead and drop me a comment below. I'm going to see you all in the next one. Take care. Peace.